speaking about obedience, how do you show up and be obedient to the purpose that God has called you as a dad?
As a dad. Yeah. Oh, it's not easy. It's not easy, but it's fun being a dad. Sharing and creating memories. Sorry, what was the question again?
My question was, how do you show up in obedience to purpose as a dad?
How do I show up in obedience
Yes.
to purpose as a dad? Can you rephrase that? What was your question again?
Listen carefully. Okay. Listen carefully.
Mm-hmm.
How do you show up in obedience
Uh-huh.
to your purpose as a dad?
Okay. How do I show up in obedience to? I'm being serious here.
I don't know how else to say this.
As we were talking and saying that, as a purpose partner, you need to be supportive. You need to to help each other.
Yeah.
So how have I supported your purpose?
I think one of the biggest ways that you help support my purpose is that you're not afraid to ask me the big questions or challenge me when I should be doing something or was doing something that I have kind of let slide. And then another way that you help me that's really big and practical is that you avail your gifts to complement what I'm doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You use the things that you're good at, or if you can't do it, then you connect me to the person that can. But like, again, back to how you're a helper, like you like to help people. So you use that spiritual gift, if we can call it that, to really practically help me achieve my purpose, which, if I'm being completely honest, I wouldn't be able to do without your help. So back to the couple that's courting, right? This is before I do either
John and Mary.
Yeah, John and Mary, who they've gone on a few dates. They like each other, and they wanna take their relationship to the next level, which is, okay, let's date more purposefully with the purpose of getting married.
Yeah.
Okay, so how would you help such a couple figure out if their purpose is aligned? How do you what kind of conversations or questions do you ask your girlfriend or boyfriend about purpose to figure out if it's aligned?
So is this figuring out if it's aligned? Now we have to be careful here, because if it's aligned with what? Like, is it aligned with God? Is it aligned with me? Because their purpose is their purpose.
I don't know.
And
Tell the people.
I have my own purpose.
Yeah. So okay.
So
maybe put yourself in that scenario.
Yeah.
As you're having conversations about your own purpose, and you're trying to find out my purpose.
Yeah.
Then after that's done, how do you now compare notes? I guess what at which point do we now go, oh, okay, can this work?
Okay. I think that's important, because the way you've asked the question, I think like 99% of people ask that ask it like that. Like, you shouldn't, if you're dating, so Mary and John, I said Mary and John, right? I don't know. Yeah, so you shouldn't be looking at, does my purpose align with the other person's purpose?
Okay.
Because you are individual people, and we shouldn't get in a position or place where we feel like the whole thing, like my other half. No, there's no such a thing. When you get married, it's not half and half.
There's no such a thing.
Then one together. When you're apart, like you are half and no, there's no such a thing.
Okay.
You are your individual, your own individual person with a path that has been set up for you to follow with God. And when you do get married, you have your own path. I have my own path. But when we come together, then we sit down and say, hey, what path are we going to create together? Which involves the both of us with our kids, our family now. What path are we going to take? But it doesn't mean now when you join together, no, so you wanted to be an accountant, I wanted to be a lawyer, so how do we fuse the two together? No. But I guess from what you're asking is when you're courting and you're finding out what are this person's passions and what do they want to do. I think the way you described it earlier makes sense, because then you would try to see, okay, if they're going to do this, if this is what they want to do and this is what I want to do, can this work together?
Yeah.
That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
So if my friend wants to be a truck driver who drives all around Africa, they're gone for most of the time, and then they only come back for half the year.
Yeah.
And this is them. This is me. I'm a teacher, and I will be teaching in a specific place for this amount of time, so I'm stationed.
Yeah.
So if I look at my truck driver friend and I look at myself and I put these things together, can that work?
Yeah.
Can I live with that? I think that's the most important thing. Because when you look at purpose partners again, a purpose partner is, if I can use the drive word, is a partner that drives you.
Yeah.
So can I be able to support this person? Can this work together? Am I going to be comfortable with this person being away for half the year? And literally, if the answer is no, then you're looking at compromise. And if you can't find any compromise, then it's just not going to work.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to change.
Yeah.
You're not going to change that person's purpose, unless it's something that you see that maybe it's not, because it could just be a dream. They're saying, I dream of traveling the world, and it's all they talk about. But in the meantime, they also have something else that they do.
Yeah.
That they feel, okay, this is what God has called me to do.
Yeah.
So if it's just a dream, let them dream. Because when you put those together, you can say, hey, I know you have this dream of traveling.
Yeah.
So maybe when the kids are all grown, they've gone to college, we're together, then we can pick up on your dream and just travel the world. But the important thing is to talk about things.
Yeah.
And to really understand what you're getting yourself into. And I feel that if we do that, then even when we get into marriage, we can help each other, because we already know what the person is about.
Yeah.
And we already signed up for it.
Okay.
That's important.
Okay, so 2 questions before I forget. Number 1, in one of the previous videos that I did talking about purpose, I hit on the fact that our purpose is not our job. Okay. So purpose can be connected to our job.
Yep.
And our job does play a huge part in how God wants us to show up in the world,
Yep.
because you're at work majority of the time.
Yep.
And that's where you apply most of your energy.
Yep.
But purpose is not your job.
Yep.
And then that coupled with this next thing that I want to mention, how does it then work when we are aligning purpose? Does purpose in the person that you're courting have to be exactly the same? So for example, we both feel that we want to be missionaries, or we both feel that we want to, start an orphanage or adopt, or does it have to be identical for you to say, it now aligns, this is my purpose partner? And if it does, explain. And if it doesn't, then what really is aligning?
Okay, yeah, I would say, I mean, it doesn't need to align. Because you'd find, and if it aligns, praise the Lord. I mean, it has aligned, because
so by align, you mean being exactly the same?
Yeah, I mean, there would be some. I would say there's some couples like that. I think their purposes have aligned, and their overarching, if I can say that, overarching purpose has aligned.
Yeah.
So, for example, our pastors.
Yeah.
Our pastors, they have their overarching purpose, which they're missionaries, and they both felt they were missionaries.
Yeah.
So that, again, it aligned.
Yeah.
They were going to live outside their country, and they both signed up for that.
Yeah.
But when we look inside that overarching purpose of being a missionary, they have specific directions that God has given them.
Yeah.
Okay, you are going to do this. You're going to be a preacher. You're going to preach.
Yeah.
You are going to do leadership.
Yeah.
So there is those things, but they have their overarching thing that has aligned.
Okay.
Yeah. So it doesn't necessarily need to align. It doesn't need to be the same. But again, like we said, there's no half and half.
Right.
So even though the overarching thing is, we are both called to lead a local church, we're both called to be pastors, but in there, God has specific things in the individual's hearts that they have to follow.
Right.
I think this, for me, speaks to a lot of pastors' wives, because majority of, I don't know if it's safe to say majority, but most of them, it's like they want to live in the purpose of the husband. So they are the senior pastors, and I'm just supposed to submit and serve the senior pastor who God has called. But no, what about you? You are a person. What has God told you to do? What has God called you to do?
Yeah.
So that should never be forgotten.
That's really good. I think, if I'm being completely honest, I think that applies to just women in general.
Yeah.
Even when you're courting, most of the time, it's easier to get into a place where you're asking the guy, what's your vision? What are your values? What is your plan? What's your, what are your goals? And yes, as a young lady, you want to have a man who, he has a plan, he has a vision, because then you are going to kind of align yourself to that, because he'll be the head of your home if you get married to him. But rarely we have cases where it's reciprocated, where the male is also interested in the lady's vision and what her values are, and what are your plans, what are your goals. It's more of, I want to do this, I want to get my master's, I want to, I'm going out of the country for school. And the lady just kind of, because she's being courted, she's being chased by this guy, she will just kind of follow along with what he's doing, what his plan is. So I'll partner with that plan and do that plan. But then maybe there's oversight on the fact that she also has her own purpose. And how does that then come onto the table? It's kind of like he's free to put all that on the table, and like, this is what I'm about. Can you sign on to this and come onto my team, kind of thing. And then her stuff is still under the table, and there isn't that opportunity, even in the conversations, to then say, this is what I would bring to the team. And
so you feel like the lady has to also put what's on her heart or her purpose on the table during the courting phase.
I think that's important for her to know that for herself, for her to be able to confidently articulate that to her fiance, boyfriend,
Yeah.
and also for the guys in the situation to create a safe space for her to do that. Yeah. Because you did that. You would always ask me questions, and you never made me feel like I was just gonna come onto your team. It was always, we're gonna make a team
I think
together.
so. Yeah, that, I mean, for me, like, I'll tell you, like, that's a no-brainer, because I mean, no, I know how smart you are. I know how intelligent you are.
Yeah.
I want you on my team. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, I know what you bring to the table, and so, and for me, I just think that partnership, and the word partnership is very important in marriage. And like I was telling you the other day, like we hear so much of this word being used where people are saying it's my partner, and then you're wondering, like, okay, what do you mean partner? Like your wife, your husband? And I know it's been used in the wrong way, maybe.
Yeah.
Because when somebody says partner, then the partner is yeah, so I'll just leave it there. But I like that word because literally I think you're my partner. Because in everything, when I have an idea, when I want to do something, when God gives me an idea of doing something, I want to share it with you. Like, that's the first thing I want to do.
Yeah.
Why? Because I value you on my team, and I know that together we can achieve so much. And that's why every time, like, even the little things, like, when I'm trying to watch a movie and it's so nice, I'm thinking, and I'm alone, I'm like, I gotta watch with this Louise, I can't watch it alone. So things like that, because I value the time that we spend together, and I know that me being alone is just is a non-starter.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So I think partnering with somebody, and then they're driving you forward and they're helping you, and again, that means sharing. That means also sharing a lot of sharing, and being honest and vulnerable.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way your friend is going to know what to help you with.
Yeah.
And that's the only way that God is going to use your friend to align you better and help push you towards what he has. So the issue of, I think with that also, is like the issue of competition and all that just falls away.
Yeah.
I think just the why we do certain things plays a very important part in how we behave.
Yeah.
Why do you like this person? Why do you want to get married to this person? Why do you? So if you look at those questions and literally figure out why, then it will help you, like, navigate so many things in life.
So speaking about competition, how would you encourage somebody who might be experiencing feelings of envy or jealousy, regarding their spouse? Because at the end of the day, we're all human. And we all go through seasons when we might be faced with these feelings. And maybe, there's a couple out there that's listening where one of them, things might be going really well for them regarding their purpose. They're making strides. They feel really plugged in and connected with what God is calling them to do in that particular season of their life. And then the other spouse might be feeling like they're in a season of waiting. And maybe they're working some things out with God, and God has them in this obscure place where he's refining certain things, before he gives them instructions for the next season of their life. And they're watching their spouse have these amazing encounters with God as they are doing the thing out there. How would you encourage somebody who's in that space and feeling like they're envious, or they're even somewhat jealous of what is happening in their spouse's life, and they're feeling like they're left out because it's not happening for them.
I think first and foremost, there has to be a realization that that they're on the same team, that this is the winning team. And once you realize that, I think after that, then you have to carry each other along.
Yeah.
In your wins and in whatever that you are doing, carry each other along. I think it's important to also know what are the big things that your partner is good at. What are they good at? And in that sense, like for me, I know the things that you're good at. So when things are quote unquote working for me, I would know that, oh, if I'm working on this, I have an idea and this is what I want to work on, I'll come to you and say, hey Louise, can you help me? I'm thinking about this. Can you help me with a write-up? Because why? Because I know you flourish in writing. That's your thing, and that also helps you be involved in what I'm doing because we're on the same team. What works for me works for you. It helps you. If stuff is working for you, it's helping me because we're on the same team. And I think that's very, very important to note. And I'll give an example of maybe the couple, and maybe the husband is a doctor or something like that. He's a doctor and he goes for work. Maybe the wife is a stay-at-home mom and just homeschools the kids. That doctor, and maybe he has some other activities that he wants to do, help the community out more. Maybe he's been asked to sort of like sit on a board or things like that. I think for him, it's important for him to actually carry his wife along in his success and in what's happening with his purpose and everything, such that even when he goes home, he's like, no, this is what I have to do. Maybe he knows the wife is a good planner. Can you help me plan? Because I don't feel like I can do this. And I think just talking really helps, and sharing what's going on with you, where you are. I think it helps. And then just being sensitive, because you know where your partner is and you know what they're struggling with. So it's not the time to go, hey, I just got, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. It's so 600 patients today. I don't even know if there's such a thing, but I'm rocking it, and and all these things. But just to be sensitive and to be able to carry them along, to help them see and know that, look, if things are working for me, they are working for us, because we are on the same team.
You mentioned that it's important for spouses to know what the other person is good at. And back to the before I do, and you're getting to know this person, you're coaching this person, other than finding out what they're good at and also discussing things like your personal core values, what are some other things that you can discuss in that dating coaching relationship that can help you really figure out if you can merge your purpose and begin to do purpose together now as a married couple?
I think for me, one of the biggest things that you need to be aware of is your the person that you're coaching. What's their personality like? And what I mean by that is, when we have an argument, like, are we able to sit down on the table and talk about it and come to a resolve, or come to an understanding, or are they able to compromise and things? Because that's important. Because if you feel like you're dealing with a person who, this is my way or the highway, I'm not going to change, then that's a problem.
Right.
Because everything is going to come down to compromise, and putting each other first. It's going to come down to that. So you need to figure out how you can know how this person is, in terms of, can we sit down, can we talk about things, and can we come to a compromise. If my partner, she's just like, no, this is what I want and I'm not going to change, and whatever, if it feels like that, because really, honestly, as you get into marriage, things don't get better. they get more difficult. So if you don't have a way in which you can figure out and sit down and discuss and hey, we have a problem and whatever, and come to a resolve, then it's not going to happen when you get married.
Right. So
I think that's the most, for me, that's because everything hinges around, can we discuss, can we talk, and everything hinges around that. Can we talk? Can we sit down and can we talk? Whatever challenge that you will face will involve you sitting down again and saying, hey, this is where we are.
Yeah.
If you get married and then you find that things are sort of start getting misaligned, maybe something happens in the middle of your marriage and you're thinking, oh my God, like this is something to sit down and talk about, because things have changed here. So it will involve sitting down again and saying, hey, so with this new thing that has come in, how are we going to deal with this? Because it seems this is gonna take us in different paths. And then you sit down again and see, hey, so what do we do? And it might just be, oh yeah, don't take that job, or I don't think I need to take that job. I don't think I need to go there. I don't think we need to leave. Or it might just be, hey, together, I think we need to leave. We need to go to this place because I think this is where God is now taking us. So it will involve that, even talking and aligning, even in marriage, when you feel like your purposes are sort of like going apart.
Okay. So before we switch over to a few other questions that you might have for me, what would you say to that couple that has forgotten how to talk? For some reason, when you're dating and you're courting, it seems that's all you do. You want to get to know this person, and you have all these questions and you're intrigued by them, so you talk a lot. And then you get married, and then life happens and kids come in, or career takes off and the busyness of life comes, and then you realize that it's been a while since we actually sat down and talked about stuff, or talked about, you know, what's going on in your world, or what are you feeling God might be saying about the next season? What are some goals that we can have together? There are those couples that have stayed purposeful about things like that, and even every beginning of the year they might sit down and talk about, you know, what are our goals for the year, and that's awesome. But I'm talking about the everyday couple that's just out here trying to survive. They're trying to put food on the table. They're trying to make sure, you know, the kids don't kill each other. How would you encourage those couples that just seem to have forgotten how to talk?
Well, like they say, you know, repentance is just, you know, you stop and you turn around and you go the other way. So if you have forgotten how to talk, just be purposeful. And what I mean by being purposeful is create the time, even if it's 30 minutes that we're going to sit down every day and just, hey, what's going on? How are things going on? What do you have on your heart? Even if it's 10, 15 minutes, that's enough. But carve out time when you're going to do that. I think I would say that it's easier said than done. It's been easier for us because and personally I haven't had to struggle with sharing stuff with you because I'm always doing stuff with you. So that's like, I mean, we're working together. We've always, not always, I mean, when we're working at the church, we worked in different departments, but we always do stuff together. So that's kind of like, it's a no-brainer. I'm at one point or another, I'm going to tell you what's going on.
Yeah.
So, but if you are apart most of the time, you really have to carve out time for you to share what's on your heart, and just talk. I think that there's no two way about it. I don't think it's something that we can say, no, let's pray about it, fast about it. You just have to talk.
Yeah.
You just have to talk.
Yeah.
So I want to know, like with you, what are some of the things that you do intentionally to support?
I think one of the very intentional things that I do is I ask questions. I ask you questions so that I can help you plan. I can help you, figure out the schedule, whether it's for the week, and different things that I know that are important to you, and making sure that those things get done.
The other question I wanted to ask you is, have I ever rebuked you in love when you stepped out of God's purpose? And give an example.
Yeah, you do that all the time. It doesn't always come out as a rebuke. I don't think you've ever been like, oh, I'm calling you out because I feel like you're doing this. You either ask a question or you'll be like, have you ever thought about this? Yeah, that's kind of how you do it. So I guess there's also wisdom in how you bring the rebuke that maybe makes it easier for me to receive, but you definitely do. And one of the ways that you have, like a practical example that I can give, is starting this channel. I kind of felt like God wanted me to do something to this effect, but I was hiding behind that because it was a private conversation that I was having with God. So I didn't have to act on it because no one else knew about it. And then when you didn't really call me out, but you were like, hey, I think you should start a YouTube channel. And I was like, about what? I actually even gave you attitude that day because I was like, what am I even going to talk about? And yada, yada, yada. But the truth is that was your way of helping me actually be obedient to what God wanted me to do. So yeah, definitely you do that all the time.
Another question is, as a mom, how do you model purpose to Caleb and Kiara?
I think they're still quite young for me to outrightly come out and be like, hey, you guys, this is purpose and this is me doing purpose. But for right now, what I do to model to them is just showing up. Showing up to do the thing that's in front of me to do, even on days when maybe I don't feel like it, or I'm not in the mood, or whatever, whatever the case may be, but just showing up to do what's needed to be done. Because for me, one of the biggest things about my purpose is being their mom. And raising them to be Christ followers and, impactful contributors to, kingdom work and stuff like that. So me just showing up to, play the music or do the homework or teach them the memory verse or, make sure they're eating. It seems small and insignificant, but for right now, that's me showing up and demonstrating to them the actual work of purpose.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
So I will ask you the same question that you asked me, which is, what are some things that you intentionally do to support my purpose?
Oh, that question. I think I've purposed to be the voice of reason.
Okay.
The voice of reason, and I think the voice that reminds you of how good you are, the voice that reminds you of how talented you are, the voice that reminds you that you are what you're doing is not in vain. I think that's what I've purposed to do. Aside, obviously, from all the other things that I do in the background for everything that you're doing, but I think for me those are the biggest things that I have proposed to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So share with the people that are watching, like, what are some of the practical things that you're mentioning that you do in the background, just to give people practical examples of, they might be thinking, to help my spouse with purpose, maybe I need a lot of money, maybe, so like, what are some practical things maybe that you can share that you do to help?
I make sure that your message is heard by everyone.
How do you do that, sir?
By editing the videos, making sure that the sound is not whack. Just making sure that you don't make a fool out of yourself. Because if you make a fool out of yourself, I'm gonna look a fool too, because we're on the same team.
Yeah.
So you have to shine so that we all shine. And yeah, it's not perfect and everything, but I think I'm trying to work with what I have and the little knowledge that I have to push what I feel God has put on your heart, the message that He has put on your heart, which I feel that every person needs to hear. And I am gonna say this here.
Oh Lord.
You didn't plan for this.
We might need to edit this out.
No, but I'm gonna say it. I'm just gonna say it. Doing this in Zambia, in Africa, is hard, because as much I feel like people out there are celebrated a lot, and we don't have a really big culture on celebrating each other. And this person is doing this, let's move this along, let's listen, let's do this. So it's always discouraging, but like I always say with you, that we keep plugging away at what God has called us to do, and the biggest thing for us to do is to be obedient.
Yeah.
We be obedient, but at the same time, we figure out, okay, how do we get this message across to as many people as possible? But I think the biggest thing is being obedient. Yeah.
What are some things that you do as a dad that you would say, this is me doing purpose?
I think the biggest thing with the kids being young, it's just creating moments where you can have decent conversations with them, and that moments that they will remember. Driving them to school and having those conversations or those arguments in the car.
Yeah.
Picking them up and having more conversations and arguments in the car. Looking for opportunities of correction and aligning with them. Always being there. Like, if one of them does something wrong, not overlooking that, but taking a moment to say, hey, we don't do that.
Yeah.
We do this.
Yeah.
Because I feel like sometimes we take those things lightly, and we don't align, because it's constant aligning with these youngsters. You constantly aligning. But I think the finding those moments that they will remember is key. And not only finding, but creating them as well.
Okay. Last question. What would you say to that spouse out there that might be watching, who they've done the talking, They have shared their heart with their spouse. They've shared, what they feel that they need to be doing in this next season.
Yeah.
And what is burning in their heart regarding their purpose and what they want to start doing or step out to do. But their partner is not supportive. Their partner is either like completely flat out, I'm not gonna support you in this, or hasn't really like blatantly said it, but is not really engaging with them to really give that boost where that person feels like, okay, yes, I can do this, they've joined with me on this. What would you say to somebody like that?
I think first of all, if that person is a Christian, that's why us as a Christian, or the people, we have an added advantage, because the first thing we're going to do is pray.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how you would live life without that. So pray about it and hear what God is saying. Again, so we talked about us it coming down to a discussion and talking. And you're saying that they've kind of like talked it out, and the spouse is just not supportive.
Yeah. They're either not supportive or not responsive.
They're not responsive. Yeah, I think if the spouse is a guy, speaking as a guy, as a man, there could be different things going through the man's head.
Yeah.
That probably they're not sharing. So what I would encourage is, if the partner, or let's say it's the wife, feels like, look, this is what I want to do, and have to do this.
Yeah.
First of all, they need to be encouraged that they're not wrong in feeling like that. They're an individual, like we said, and they feel like this is the path that they need to take. And if they've come together, they've talked about it, and really there is nothing that's taking them apart by them following their purpose, then they need to follow through. I think it needs to come down to a situation where, look, if I do this, it's not going to affect my marriage. I'm not going to do anything that's going to bring ruin to our family.
Yeah.
So they should just do it. I think, I don't know what it is with guys and men and us guys.
Tell other people what is wrong with the male folk.
But yeah, there could be so many things going on in the head, and maybe he's just not saying, like, really, I'm feeling insecure, or I feel like when you do this, you're going to have a one-up on me. I feel like when you do this, you're going to get exposed to other men, and I'm insecure. I don't know. So there could be a whole bunch of things. I feel like when you do this, that's another thing for us to think about, money-wise. Do we have money for this? So I think it's just up to, constant talking. And I mean, if the person hasn't said, don't do this, like, I don't know, I'm not in support or whatever, but you can go ahead or whatever, just do it. And as you go along, keep praying, keep talking, and I'm sure that you will both come into alignment, and they might even come back and say, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't really support you, but this is really a good thing, because sometimes we don't see the full picture, and we might not see. So I think the test should be for us, this thing that I want you to do, is it going to bring harm to the family? And if it's not, then go for it. They'll come around.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for taking the time to sit here with me and have this conversation. I pray that it will be beneficial to somebody out there that might watch this, whether it's now or years from now. But we really hope that this has been insightful and that you enjoyed watching.